And can you pull the agenda up on the screen for me, share it?
Yes, I can. Give me just a second.
Thank you.
All right, can everybody see that?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
if you can make it a little bigger.
May be able to. Let's see.
That's better.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Why don't we call the April 27th, 2021 Recreation Committee meeting to order. Let's just take a moment of silence. Amen. Do I hear a motion with regard to the November 10th, 2020 minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Can we start with those things that are going to go fairly quickly and start with the update on the Parks and Recreation last? Is that okay? Can we do that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Jason and Laurie, I'll turn it over to you with the
Okay.
updates.
All right, well, I'll jump right in here, Mr. Chairman and committee members. So I'm gonna provide you all, so let me get my right screen here with my notes. So the first item on the agenda is an update on the Alma Dungy Community Center construction. So most of the contracted work is either underway or completed. Many of the I-beams have been installed that were the structural supports for that second floor. The initial termite rot and repair has been removed, and new floor joists have been reinstalled. New flooring has been replaced on the second floor. Framing for the restrooms has been completed. Plumbing and electrical rough ends have started, and the new duct work for the HVAC is underway. Now to the other part of the project. When we were peeling back the onion, if you will, these historic buildings, you don't know what's going on until you get into them. We peeled back some of the ceiling in the second floor, and we found much more termite damage from many years ago. And as part of that termite damage, some of the mortar and brick of the parapet wall had been damaged due to the rotting of the wood, which created additional moisture intrusion. So we had the structural engineer come back in and prepare a recommended fix for the extra damage that we found. The contractor has priced that work and has prepared a change order. That change order will be coming at the next council meeting. So substantial completion was originally May 1st. With this additional work, the contractor is preparing the request for additional days, which we think is justifiable, and they're preparing the new schedule. So I don't have a new schedule yet, but the work is underway, and we don't think the additional repairs are going to be too significant in cost, but definitely needed.
Any discussions with the previous tenant yet for moving back in?
I have not. I know that I think there's a meeting scheduled with legal and perhaps real estate and recreation to discuss how that all is going to work. But I'd have to defer to others on how they determine what the terms are for the boxing gym to come back in. We have fully anticipate them coming back. I just don't know the details on how that works.
Hey, Chairman, just wanted to let you know that Councilman Griffin is here. He should be logging on soon.
Can't hear you.
Councilman Griffin is here. He'll be logging on momentarily.
Much better. So unless there are any other questions, I'll keep moving through the items that I have for updates.
On the Brenda Scott Way, that sign's already been installed.
Okay, so
That's a done deal.
okay. I can do the W.L. Stevens Pool, Stony Field, and Carl Richardson's if you want me to keep going.
Please.
Okay, W.L. Stevens Pool. So based on all of our evaluations and recommendations from the consultants, we are converting that pool into a seasonal pool. We are having our own facilities maintenance staff remove all of the old sliding doors that were screwed shut back in the 80s. We've got a new security system being installed. We've repaired the sewer line with some additional painting we need to do, some column fixes around the pool, and some additional fencing. So we will be ready for the July 1st opening.
Was there an issue with accessibility for persons with disability at one point?
Lori, do you have any more information on that?
Well, I can share a couple of things, Councilmember Gregory. Obviously, that building was built 50 years ago. So it was built even before the ADA requirements were ever in existence. The facility meets the minimum standards for those folks to access. We do have a couple of patrons who have larger either wheelchairs or walkers. And we work with those patrons individually to bring them in through the side gate. And it works really well. So while the building is not going to be brand new, it still has the required number of lifts to get into the pool. It still has the ability to enter the doors. All of those are doors that are fine. So all of those issues, I mean, we're not redoing the building, but the accessibility is there, and we'll continue to work with our patrons who need to come in through the side gate. We work with that. Our folks are really trained at doing that and happy to help.
So you are reasonably accommodating the best you can.
Absolutely. We meet the reasonable accommodations. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I think everybody's going to be really surprised when they go over there at how connected you become with the rest of Forest Park. You can hear what's going on the playground, and you can hear the birds, and it's just kind of amazing for that pool that I've been in for almost 28 years now of my working year here at the city, and to walk in that pool now and feel connected to the rest of the park. I think it's going to be a very neat experience for our patrons. It's already looking really good.
Any questions? We can move on then.
Okay, and I know we briefly touched on this the last meeting, but I wanted to kind of give a more thorough update on Stony Field. Everybody knows that there are two projects that are happening. The Charleston County School District is working on the field and the track. So with the Charleston County School District work, the field surcharge and compaction is complete. There is new surcharge that you may have seen that's in place on the track, because if you'll remember, we renegotiated with the school district to make sure we had the proper track being installed. So that new surcharge is in place and probably will be there through the summer. Their surveyors are constantly monitoring the compaction rate, and they continue to provide us updates. We have also just approved their submittals for the synthetic turf field, as well as the rubberized surface of the track, which is commensurate with all of the other tracks the school district is currently working on. That's the school district work. There's in addition, their retaining walls are all completed, so all of their site work is almost done, if you will. So now we're just waiting for Mother Nature to do its job with gravity and the surcharge pile. The city portion of the work, the locker rooms have been, the HVAC upgrades to the locker rooms, that work is completed. So that work is, those units are underway or working. So that's since the 60s when the facility was constructed, the locker rooms have never been climate controlled. So that should be a pleasant surprise for whenever people get back into those locker rooms. In addition, we have completed the undergrounding work with Dominion to get the power feed to the park and the stadium underground, so we can get rid of the pole and the transformers, which are near the corner of the home side of the stands. That pole still stands, and we'll be working with electricians to get that new connection in place soon. We are getting close to have our permit set, or our approval set through TRC and stormwater reviews for our parking lot improvements and the new entry plaza that will be in the area that used to be the maintenance gate from the parking lot. So there'll be a new paving, new landscaping, and it'll be a much better, more pleasing entry into the stadium. So hopefully we'll get those permits completed and bid set advertised at the end of this month or next. Any questions on Stony Field?
When are we scheduled to have it ready? For the fall?
So we're going to have to wait for the school district to continually give us updates on their work. Right now we're waiting for that surcharge to compact that ground soil condition. They're anticipating that being in place through August. I don't have a new schedule yet of when they will be complete, but I'm assuming it's going to be fall, and I'm not so sure it'll be ready for football season or not, but I have to defer back to the school district for an update on their schedule, which I don't have in front of me.
So, and Jason, the other improvements you mentioned that we're doing include new fencing around the perimeter on Fishburne Street to really make that look nicer as well, correct? That's right. Decorative columns and fencing, which is going to be a Board of Architectural Review item because it's in the BAR jurisdiction. So we're working with the BAR to get the decorative fencing approved as well.
Is it any correlation to the renderings that were done in 2007 for the fencing?
I'd have to go back and verify. So I don't have that off the top of my head. If it's brick columns and fencing, it's something similar. But
it sounds similar, yes.
Yeah, I can share it with you.
Okay, thank you.
Council member,
yes, Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, it was my understanding when we had the back and forth about the track and the delay that occurred because of that it will not be ready for football this fall, unfortunately. That was the original plan, but since we ended up going as I said, back and forth about the track and enlarging it and make sure it was 400 meters. And they had to go back and resurcharge that portion of the field. In other words, you could have the football field ready by September, but the track wouldn't be ready. That wouldn't make sense. So it will not be, my understanding, it will not be ready for football season this fall.
And I guess I would assume that they've already come up with some alternatives the school district has for where Burke will play their football games.
I presume so. They did last season they were playing. I think they played at the Citadel or some other location. So yeah, that's their responsibility to figure out. And you know, when the day is done, and we have the nice track as part of it, I think it'll be worth the wait.
I do too. There's a pretty nice sports complex over there with everything else.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on Stony Field? Hearing none, I'll move right along to Carr Richardson Park. So that work is underway, as most of you know. Our SWIP inspections have passed. Site work has commenced, and the contractors made significant headway with the submittals and product data for all of the products and appointments that the park will be seeing. And as you all can assume or understand, the contractor has encountered significant debris at the end of the point, if you will, which is the finger that sticks out into the marsh. Probably 25% of it is complete rubble. So we are evaluating our options on how to improve that area and make it safe at the same time, because literally it's just a pile of rubble at the end when we got all of the vegetation pulled out. So again, we're figuring out ways to make it accessible, but it's going to be difficult to really construct anything out there because you're really just building on top of rubble and rocks, and there's no ground substrate to connect anything to. So we're continuing to evaluate different methods of securing soil with geotextile fabric and getting some sort of an observation point out on the end. The contractor also excavated the building pad, which is on the original highland, but they have encountered significant debris there as well. The original proof roll for that portion of the project did not pass, so we have our third-party geotechnical engineers on site inspecting that work, coming to plan to make sure that we get that building pad compacted to the needed specifications so we can construct the building. So it's going's a little rough out there with all of the rubble, but we should be good to go when we're all said and done. So those are my project updates on the agenda. Is there any additional questions?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Why don't we go to culture? Oh, a question? I'm sorry, Jason.
Sorry. Thanks. We did a site visit several months ago, Jason. You did let us know that a lot of that park had a lot of that debris in it. Were you expecting some of this, or is this unexpected? Like more than you expected?
We knew that from the old surveys that there was the line of the original land, and we had made we knew everything outside of that line was all rubble. We didn't expect as much rubble and debris in the original upland area. It appears that they were using it for concrete washout. We should be fine. It's just going to take a little extra work. The contractor is tracking how much they're excavating just to make sure we don't exceed the allotted amount in the contract. So fingers crossed that everything will come in acceptable, but so we should be fine with the park house. So we'll just have to continue on a day-by-day basis with our geotechnical engineers to verify that we get that sub-base compacted appropriately.
And just one last question. When was the expected completion date? Is this going to affect that completion date?
Not yet, but I don't have that, and I can get back with you on that.
All right.
So right now, we haven't had any requests for additional time, but we're very early in the contract.
Thank you.
And then
Any more questions for Jason on this one?
Councilmember Del Chapo has her hand up.
I couldn't see her. I'm sorry.
That's
Councilwoman
okay.
Del Chapo.
Thank you. Jason, Lori, for Daniel Island, we're still on target for July 1st opening.
Yes, as far as I know, I believe Lori's in the process of staffing up to get that opened on time. But yes, the building will be ready and is ready.
Okay. Because that was
Councilmember Del Chapo, we have started interviews. We're actually in the second phase of interviewing for that manager position.
Okay.
One of the candidates that we were hoping to, that that would still be interested from back when we were doing it in December did not submit an application. So we're looking at some new applicants really this time. But we hope to make that selection and offer within the next week. And then that employee will then begin the hiring of all the other employees, starting to put the calendar together. I've kept a pretty large file of program ideas and folks from DI that have reached out to me saying, I'd like to teach a class, I'd like to do this. So we've kind of got some information to give that manager to get them running real quickly. They'll have to order supplies and everything, but we are definitely, since we were able to get finance helping us, we were able to get the position open. We're moving to the July 1. I think we'll be there.
Okay. So once that manager then is hired, then we'll get programming. And what about like pricing and things like that?
Sure. So the pricing is going to be identical to all of our other community centers. So in order for a city resident to go in and shoot basketball, they'll get an ID. A non-resident will pay a little more, but it's a very nominal cost. For programs, it's kind of a pay as you go. So there may be a Zumba class that costs $5. There may be an art class that's free. I mean, it's just going to be like a real collection of things. All the sports programs will be the same cost as we charge now. But the fee structure will be very similar to what we have at Arthur Christopher Community Center. And because they both have fitness rooms, and the programming won't start until we're able to open the building. A building of that size is going to take at least 3 or 4 people to have it open and safely monitored. So we'll have to bring our staff on before we can actually open it, but we'll be ready to do that by July 1st.
Will be prior to July 1st. Do you already have some programming in place and people can go ahead and sign up for things, or do we have to wait until the actual open date?
Well, I didn't want to go in and set the programming up. I really wanted the manager to come in and do that with a pair of eyes that were not mine. But we know when new sports are going to be. We know summer's already ongoing and things like that. Most everything will start up in August or September as we get into the fall. But the building will be open. So if folks want to come out for volleyball night on Thursdays or whatever night it is, if they want to play pickleball on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we'll have that set up. That's real easy to do on the fly. We should be introducing that information to the community in June as we start. But nothing should be so full, Councilmember, that we won't be able to open the building and have people be able to do pretty much what they want to do in that facility.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? If not,
So we can go into the Parks and Rec plan update, Mr. Chairman, if that's your desire.
Or Jason, I can fill in the 2 items for cultural planning and city festivals.
Sounds good.
let's do that
Okay.
first.
Councilmember Gregory, I believe you were not able to participate in the April 1st Arts Commission meeting, but as we discussed, we did adopt the public art policy guidelines and objectives, leaving open the specifics of a governance body and structure for recommendations yet to come from the Special Commission on Equity, Inclusion, and Racial Conciliation. We are ready very much to move forward. We've been actively soliciting fundraising through foundation grants, including Coastal Community Foundation's Facebook-funded Sustaining Black Communities Initiative, the Bloomberg Asphalt Art Initiative, South Arts cross-sector grant, and we will apply this summer for the NEA Our Town program with the hope that we have some ability to immediately kickstart high-quality public art programs. We also will have some programs piloted during Piccola Spoleto this year, and we have an opportunity called the Keith Haring Fitness Court that would blend public art with a functional programmable fitness court structure with 3 recommended sites. And we'll be happy to bring that information forward. We have been invited as one of 10 cities across the country to pursue this opportunity. It would license very highly visible, internationally recognized artwork by the late artist Keith Haring, and at the end of 5 years could be repurposed to use the artwork of a local artist, be that somebody like Jonathan Green or an emerging artist, but a great opportunity to intersect public art with community use in a way that's really engaging. Our next steps in the cultural planning process, again, will be largely informed by recommendations coming out of the special commission, because I know we wanted to establish post-COVID some goals and benchmarks to try to achieve to make sure that we truly are as inclusive and representative of Charleston's many communities across all of our city-sponsored cultural platforms. In terms of the city festivals and exhibitions for 2021, we continue to operate under fairly rigorous COVID protocols. All of the programs for Piccolo Spoleto will be in compliance with CDC guidelines, no large scale gatherings. The events that are programmed between May 28th and June 13th really are intended to be discreet, accommodate safe social distancing, and probably as our biggest program will be the Memorial Day Patriotic Concert, relocated from Marion Square to Hampton Park to provide for greater crowd safety. We then will extend some of the Piccolo Spoleto programs deeper into the summer, including moving the CSO Pops concert that traditionally starts things off at the Custom House. That's now conceived for the 4th of July at Joe Riley Stadium, which will give us far greater social distancing, safe attendance, and the addition of fireworks. So we're making good choices that are measured and considered, while continuing to create a way to bring the arts prominently forward in the public realm. For Moja, the Moja Arts Festival Planning Committee has really requested to defer most of their recommendations until 2022. That is largely recognizing that their core audience is of advanced age and in higher risk groups, but we are proceeding with a very well-considered plan to use the Dock Street Theater, to use public parks, and to use what's now being called Festival Hall, Meminger Auditorium, for a series of, again, well-structured, safely considered programs that will accommodate social distancing both indoors and out, and keep Moja very much in the public eye in September and October. The Free Verse Poetry Festival will push to November. Again, just trying to buy more time and have better access to the school system for outreach and engagement. And of course, what I think we're all hoping for is that our Holiday Magic in Historic Charleston 2021 truly will be magic, and that by the time we get to late November and early December, most of the concerns about the pandemic will be largely behind us. I'm happy to take any questions or fill in anything I've overlooked.
Any questions for Scott? Not. Jason?
Great. So we have on the line Pat from Branstetter Carroll, who is going to be providing update on the Parks and Rec master plan. Pat, if you can press *6, you should be able to join the meeting.
It looks like he is already unmuted.
Okay. Pat, you out there?
Because I believe it's the 859 number.
It is.
Okay.
Pat Hoagland? They're ready and prepared. Let me see if I can give him a little ring.
If not, Jason, one of us can go over the bullet list they put together for this meeting today.
Nope. Are you unmuted? Can you try to hang up and call back in? Okay. All right. He said he was talking, but nobody could hear him, so I asked him to hang up and try back.
I mean, while we wait for him, Jason, I think sometimes folks really don't realize all you do. And particular in the urban forestry area, what the canopies that your staff is creating throughout this city is just beautiful.
Thank you. Greg.
And I think it's quite evident when you drive through Hampton Park in particular, and get a sense of how they have been getting these trees to form almost a cathedral-like feeling as you drive through it. And the same thing is happening on many of our streets as they do the same thing. And I just wanted to tell you that I think your folks are doing a great job. I think you're doing a great job with all the balls that you have in the air. And at some point, perhaps maybe from a Ways and Means standpoint, I'd like to go over all the capital projects that you're in charge of and let folks see what you're doing, okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Gregory, you should walk Hampton Park if you want to see a beautiful view of that canopy that Jason's created. It's even better than being in your car.
Now, you know I walk the park.
I think I heard Pat was able to get plugged back in.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was listening to you all. I just had unmuted, but couldn't hear me. Anyway, great to be here with you today. We're getting to the point where we're starting to wrap things up. I've got really three things to talk about today. One was what has been accomplished. Secondly, what are we working on right now? And then the schedule towards wrapping this whole thing up. So I'll start off with what's been accomplished. So we've early on went out and inventoried and assessed all your park facilities, went to 145 different sites, and then had a separate group of architects looked at another 36 structures or sites with structures. Looked at your programs and the offerings and analyzed those, or reviewed the demographics. We mapped the service areas for all of your facilities and the various park types so that we could identify some of those gaps in the services. We looked at all the previous studies and summarized those, because there was a lot of them. And then we performed a social needs and conditions analysis, which was really to identify those areas of the city that would benefit the most from parks and recreation and other social services as well. Those areas that are the more underprivileged. And then we also did some benchmarking to other communities, about 32 other communities in the Southeast of similar size, looking at their facilities, programs, and budgets in comparison to yours. And then the biggest part, really exciting, was the public engagement. And that was really a pretty amazing process with COVID, hitting us right when we were getting started. But despite that, I think we had better participation than we thought we would. By going out into the parks, we went to 20 different parks, talked to 324 people in the parks. So that really helped out because people were out there in large numbers. We took advantage of that. We had a statistically valid survey, 100 households, which represents about 1,300 people. Another web survey that 2,400 people filled out. Had 28 different stakeholder groups with some of the sports groups, your outside recreation providers, partners, the groups that you partner with, and others. We participated in 10 of the city plan listening sessions that had over 300 participants in those. And we reviewed the results from those city plan, which reached about 3,000 people. And they had another online engagement forum that another 108 people were involved with. And then worked with about 60 staff members to go through a process to identify a new mission, vision, values, goals, and objectives for Parks and Recreation for the next 10 years. And then just last week, some of my staff went down and met with Tom for 3 days, Tom O'Rourke, and just review and some of the findings and recommendations to start that process. So what we're working on now And it's really exciting to be to this stage to start trying to pull all this together. But we're looking at some citywide park and facility recommendations, some recommendations at each of your parks, what should be done to improve those, and then some overall recommendations for the structure of the department and how you can be more organized. Potential for some income generation, looking at your staffing, funding and revenue, and looking at other partnerships and the programs and services that you offer. So there's a lot that we're working on right now. The schedule, and then Tom O'Rourke met with Jason and Laurie Monday morning to go over this with them. On May 10th, we'll have some draft recommendations that we're going to review with Jason and Laurie. And then around May 13th, or in that area, we'll meet with the steering committee to present some of those draft recommendations. And then following that, around May 17th, we'll have a meeting with the mayor to discuss some of those. And then take that information and refine some of it. We'll get back with the recreation committee at the end of May. And then in early June, you'll have a full draft of the report. And it'll be several hundred pages. And then June Recreation Committee meeting, you'll have a draft of the plan to discuss with us. And then in July, we'll present it to the full council for possible approval of the plan.
Have you costed out?
The individual park, no, not yet. That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
It'll be substantial, I'm sure.
I know.
It'll be a big, scary number, but there's a lot to deferred, a lot of older structures, facilities. Not that they haven't been maintained well, but they're just old. They get tired and need to be replaced and fixed at some point. Any other questions?
If not, thanks a lot for the cliff note.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Chairman, if I could make one.
Keep it going. Bring it on.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make one little comment.
Yes, Jason.
In reference to that community engagement that Pat referenced, it really was incredible, that effort during COVID. And their team came up with the idea of printing up some T-shirts, and they went out and walked the parks, and they engaged with citizens that probably would have never been online, would have never come to a public meeting, and would have never logged into a Zoom meeting. So it really was an outstanding effort, and the product will be better with that.
Especially on the basketball courts.
Yep.
But if I can interrupt, Tom O'Rourke spent a whole day at Johns Island Park and had no idea of the participation we had from the Latino community in that park. He was down at Martin Park and happened to time it during a food giveaway. So he really was able to meet some folks that use our parks regularly, but are not folks, like Jason said, that would typically probably take part in a meeting or an online survey. So I think they heard a lot of great things from our citizens, and really picking a great firm like we did and that the city council approved that expenditure. That's really why this plan is going to be good. They've been so thorough.
I think so too. And we appreciate all the work that's being done. And like the mayor, bring it on. Let's see what's going to cost. So we won't fly blindly.
Thank you for the report. Did anybody complain that we have too many parks?
I don't remember anybody saying there was too many parks.
Right. Thank you.
Yep. And you've got some growing areas that you need to look where parks need to go in the future as well. So
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Councilmember Griffin has his hand up.
Sorry, Councilman Griffin. Councilman Griffin?
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you mute yours for a second? I just wanted to say, I know that the number is going to be really big and it's going to be robust, but this is our future and we're going to have to break it down piece by piece. Look at what's the most important to our community. Look at what needs the most help. And, start knocking these projects out. It's kind of like how we're doing flooding now. We all know we have flooding issues, and we take each project and we see how much money we have every year and we get them done. And that's just what we're going to have to do here. I can't wait to see this master plan, and the fact that we all rolled up our sleeves to get this process rolling is going to be a step in the right direction. But I just don't want us to harp so much on that big number, because I know it's going to be robust. It's probably going to somehow doesn't have any gray hair yet, but he might have a little bit of gray hair after we see what these numbers look like. But if we break it down and we start knocking out these projects, that number is going to be a lot more manageable. And I really couldn't be more honored than to serve with this committee, because I know we're moving in the right direction. We're giving a service back to the people that they really, really need. I know that it's going to be reported when that number comes out, how much it's going to cost, and people are going to throw up their arms and they're going to say, oh, well, that number's too big. There's no way we can do that. But if we break it down and we read between the lines a little bit and look at what we really need first, I think that we're going to do some really, really great things in all parts of our city. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you for that comment. I think a part of this exercise is also to identify where there may be grant money or other money available to help us with this. So I'm sure they'll be giving us some recommendations for where we may be able to identify funding.
Definitely.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
if I could make two last points, some questions that came up. I have the Carr Richardson Park schedule. The contract is 365 calendar days. We have not received a request for a time extension yet, but we'll kind of work through the debris issues and see what the contractor says. And then the Stony Field, yes, that would be brick piers with iron or steel fencing or aluminum fencing in between. So decorative style, Charleston style piers and fencing.
And Jason, would you be available to give the Cliff Note version of this report to council
Sure.
at our council meeting, please? Appreciate it. Any more questions, discussions? If not, this meeting's adjourned.
See you at 4:30.
Thanks everyone for your support.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Scott.
Hi, y'all.
I'll wait to hear from you, Jason.